Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my latest video. And today I have a junk journal to share with you guys. I know it's been a while since I've created one. And I have to say this is probably the favorite one that I've ever made so far. This one's kind of near and dear to my heart. I did create this journal for my husband and myself to use when we go on vacation and we travel a lot. He is a wildlife photographer, and he finally decided that I could go ahead and make a journal for us to use, and we could document different places we've gone, different places where we've seen wildlife and different things like that. And so this is a fabric covered journal, and I do have to tell you guys a quick story. My husband did ask one day if I wanted to go to the thrift store because he was looking for company because he had to go pick something else up at the hardware store, and he hates to go to the thrift store. But he did ask if I wanted to go, and while we were there, we found this material right here, and it came off of a dress, and he actually picked it out, and he brought it to me, and he said, I think you should make something with this. And so it was a little more expensive than what I normally would have bought for clothing that I take apart, but I'm so glad that I listened to him, and we bought it, and I took it apart and used it on this journal, and it turned out so fabulous. I really love how it turned out. But it was kind of a green and brown and white. It was kind of tie-dyed, but then it also had like some machine stitching on it, which you guys can see here. And so I did cut it up into strips off of the dress. And then I also added this little green trim for my stash. And then behind here, this green material comes from a placemat that I used as my base. Here's some more of that dress material so you can kind of see how it was tie-dyed like that. And I used that on the spine. And I did the exact same thing on the cover, except for a lot of it got covered up because I did add this photo here. And if you guys look at the photo, it is my husband's photo, and I printed it on some paper canvas. I did want to include photos that he took in the past in this journal, so there will be a few of those throughout the journal. And then around it, I did sew on some of this little eyelash trim. That's kind of a, you know, nature colors with the browns, and there's a little bit of green in there. I did add a little metal embellishment. And then on the side, I went ahead and added some beads that I strung. And I have to tell you guys, it took me a whole day just to string these 4 strands of beads. But I do love how it turned out. And I had thought about adding some strings right here on this side, but I was worried that every time I set the journal down, it would be a little too easy to catch them on things and they'd probably break. So I just left it to doing that on the cover. And then my closure is the tie from the dress that I took off. And so I repurposed it and reused it. But I do love how this turned out. On the inside, I just had some other green material. I added a little trim here. It is a hidden spine that I used chipboard or mat board for. And then I covered that with paper. There are 3 signatures. The first 2 are decorated. The last ones are very plain. Just so we can add to it or just use it for straight journaling with nothing else. I did try to add any page that I decorated, highly decorated. You will find journal cards or different spots to journal on. And so I started our book off with the quote that says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with 1 step." And I did add a whole bunch of sentiments, nature sentiments or travel type sentiments throughout the journal. As far as the paper that I use, some of it's just scrap paper that I have left over from different card making projects. But I did purchase kits in the past that I use in here. There's some from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. There's Calico Collage, Artie Mays, Tsunami Rose, and then also some Christie Art Design. And then for the paper collections, there's some Graphic 45, some from Kaiser Craft, some from Bo Bunny, and then there's one from a paper pad that I had picked up at Tuesday morning that I can't remember what company that was. So that's kind of throughout the whole journal. I tried to add, like I said, lots of different tags or journaling spots. And then I did ink all of my edges. Some of them I stenciled on, and I'll try to point those out when I get to those. And you'll see a lot of eyelash trim. I like using eyelash trim. I did do a small amount of sewing. I didn't really add, other than this, I really didn't add any ribbon or trim to to the journal just because I'll be sharing it with my husband, so I did want it to make it not so girly. Here I added one of the Tsunami Rose calendars. I like to add these in my journals just because when you travel, it's nice to record the days you go and maybe where you spend. And so I did put it in this way, thinking it would be easier to write on. And then I added a flip this way. And you will see quite a few flips throughout my journal because I do like to create flips. Here's one of my husband's photographs. And it's eating a crab. It's a blue crab. He took that in Texas when he was down in Texas a couple of years ago. And then this one I did use a tag. My husband bought a new camera bag and it looks very similar to this. And this tag was on there. And so I did cut it up and layered it onto another piece of scrapbooking paper. This very easily could look like my husband, a silhouette of my husband, because he has a tripod and a big camera like that. And he carries the backpack and stuff on his back. And so on the back, I did have to point this little stamp out. I found it at a rummage sale, and I think it comes from Seven Gypsies, but it says artist and photographer, so I thought that was kind of cool because I kind of consider myself an artist, and then my husband's a photographer, so I thought that was kind of a cool little stamp to put there. And then, again, just some more journal cards. These ones are from Scrapbooking Paper. And then here's that stencil I used. I think it was a Tim Holtz stencil, but I liked it just because it looked like it was splatter, and I did not do any coffee or tea dyeing in this book, but I did use a stencil and then inked my edges, and it almost made it look like I had coffee dyed or tea dyed my stuff, and I didn't. Here's another flip. So here it is, a little coin envelope, and I do have a couple of scrapbooking papers in there, but this one does flip this way, so you can journal here and here. I do have a lot of blank pages or lined paper throughout my journal. The lined paper is Ephemera's Vintage Garden, but I did add little sentiments and rubber stamps. I have a lot of nature-themed rubber stamps with little animals, from squirrels and bunnies to elk and deer in here, some birds. Here's a piece from a bird book that I added of a great blue heron. Some Tim Holtz paper, which I forgot to mention. I did use some of that in here too. And then here's a pocket right here. I made a couple journal cards. And then this cool little journal card. It says "Life is good." It's one of my favorite little quotes. And I got this journal card from Kim, who is Serene Bookworks here on YouTube. And quite a while ago, she sent me some Happy Mail, and this was in it. And it's been sitting on my desk that whole time, but now I finally put it into a project. I thought it was perfect for this book, mainly because of the little swallow birds on there. And then it had my favorite quote on it. In the backside, I just did some stenciling and added a little vintage camera there. So I added that. I will link Kim's channel below in the description box because I think she is definitely worth checking out, especially if you guys are into junk journals. She's so creative when it comes to her junk journals that I do think that you guys need to check her out. This is another photograph of my husband. It's a goldfinch sitting on a thistle, but very pretty picture. And then if you open behind here, there is another pocket. And then this has a flip on it, so you can flip this open. You can journal right there. And then this also just opens kind of like a card. So extra little journaling spots on there. Some more stamping, just some scrapbooking paper. This is another flip, a card that I made. There is a pocket here, and I didn't put anything in there, but you can stick something in there if you want. This flips open to journal on. There's journal writing right here, and then this also flips this way, so you can journal here and here. Another one of my husband's photographs, that's a ruby-throated hummingbird. I added some tags and just some journaling cards in there. There's the middle of the first signature. That I believe is an Artie Mays digital design. This one right here is an envelope, and so I just added it this way so it opens up here, and then I have just some journaling cards in there. just some different images of some birds. Those are Christie Art Design. And again, I just stenciled on the back just to make them look a little more vintage. Another journaling spot right here that gets tucked in. And then also right here is a pocket with a journaling card in it. I always try and stamp stuff on the back sides of my journaling card. Not all the time, but most of my cards in here will have stamps on the back side. I thought this was a cute little Project Life card. It had the camera with the little bird on it. Another little pocket. Some more writing. Here's another little pocket. This was a little Project Life card that I altered. Just some scrapbooking paper. Another little pocket with a postcard. That one's a Tsunami Rose postcard. And then another photograph of my husband's, one of his favorite one of deer, so I included that one. I did have him print off his photos. And I have some more that I can add to another journal. But here's just a little spot to journal on. This one I created a belly band over here, so if you take this off, this does flip up so you can journal here and here. And then behind here I have some different things. I have a postcard. I think that one's Artie Mays, I think. And then this little envelope is Artie Mays also, with just a little, again, a little spot to journal in there. I have a little pocket, and then you can take that out and journal in it. But I was happy I was able to use up, like this is leftover paper from some other past projects, so I was able to use up a lot of scrapbooking paper that I've had from other card making and different things, which is one of the reasons why I like making junk journals. Just using up those bits and pieces. This is an Ephemera's Vintage Garden. It actually came off of a Christmas set that I added right there, but I love the little bird, so I added it. This one's Artie Mays, I think, and this is just a Bo Bunny postcard that came from a paper collection. Again, here I had added a little paper clip, so this flips open, and I have this journaling card. I think this one, I can't remember if this one's Calico Collage or Artie Mays, but they both have some nice fall kits, and so I printed off some of the ephemera that came from it. That's a Graphic 45. Then Audubon image of some woodpeckers, and then that opens up, and I just have this paper that says field observations, date, location, weather, notes, which I thought would be fun. I think that was a little notebook I picked up at Tuesday morning. So this is the beginning of the second signature. I have some journal cards again in this back pocket right here. Another journal tag. This one I think is Calico Collage, I think. And then here's a little tag just to journal on. And then I decorated or did a little collage with some bits and pieces there. Another image from a book with the Cooper's Hawk on it. And that I put on an envelope, so the envelope opens up. And I put this little focus and listen. It was like a little Project Life card I had. And I just thought it reminded me of my husband when he's like focusing his camera on, he's listening to the animals and trying to figure out what's going on around him. And then just journal cards from scrapbooking paper. Another one is Tsunami Roses calendars with the hummingbirds on it. And this time I had it flip this way so you can journal on it on this side. And here I was going to add another piece of paper, but I decided to wait because you never know when you travel. You might have something that you want to take from a brochure or a postcard and put down. So I just left that ready for our trip to add to it. And then just a decoration here. Some more stamping. I had some stamps of some wild horses, so I added those. Here's an elk stamp. This image is Ephemera's Vintage Garden. That's Tim Holtz paper. Graphic 45. These are Artie Mae's. And then there's another postcard. This came from a Bo Bunny paper collection. And here's another adorable image that my husband took. It's of an owl. It's the pygmy owl. Really cute little owl. And this owl is about the size of a robin. So it's not a very big owl. They're kind of hard to spot, but they are cute. And so I added that. And then so that does flip open. So I have spots for journaling here and here. Some more just scrapbooking paper in there to journal on the back sides. That's Ephemera's Vintage Garden image. And then up here is another pocket with just some scrapbooking paper in it also. And it's a little tight pocket, so I might have to cut that down a little bit to make it fit better. Another image of that my husband took of a bird. Really pretty one. So here's that paper that I took out of a book that I got from Tuesday Morning. This is what it looks like. It says field observations, that date, location, weather, and notes. And there's some birds on them. There are some nature quotes on it. So I stuck some of that in there. I just thought that was kind of fun paper. This one is Calico Collage, and this came from her fall set, but I just thought it was perfect for nature. It had the butterflies and the mushrooms on it, so I added that. I like to mix when I do journals. I like to mix my different companies, whether they're paper companies or they are digital designers. I like to mix my paper companies to kind of make it my own. Another image from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and the postcard was Tsunami Rose. And this one does flip open, so you can journal there. More stamping on my paper. Here's a butterfly photo that my husband took. And a postcard. I think this one is Artie Mae's. Some more of those field observation papers. Some more tags. Ephemera's Vintage Garden, this one is, and that one. This is a scrapbooking piece of paper I got a long time ago in Happy Mail, and I've looked at it several times, but I did end up using it finally in this journal just because there was a little bit of yellow and orange on some of my pages. Another stamped image of an elk that I had. Another photo or rubber stamped image of some wild horses. I have a die cut, Tim Holtz die cut, and then I had the little sentiment about between every two pines is a doorway to a new world. So I thought that went together well. Another little journaling card that I made. One that I cut from paper, scrapbooking, and same with that one. Here's another photo of my husband's of a bighorn sheep. I think he got that one in Montana, I think. Here's another little journal card that I layered up on. And I had a ton of these little stickers. I'm not a big sticker person, so I was trying to use some of them up with the butterflies. So I did stick some of those on the backs of the journal cards. And then this is the last page, and this one's kind of different. I have a little accordion fold in here, if you guys can see that. And right before I made this, I was talking to my friend Sherry, and she said she was making a journal, just a quick journal for a friend, where she was just using an accordion fold to put it together like that. So I thought, well, can I try that and put it into my journal in a different way? So I did go ahead and try it right after our phone call. So thanks for that idea, Sherry. She doesn't have a YouTube channel, but so I did the little accordion fold. So hopefully you guys can kind of see that. It's like making a fan. And then I just stuck my pages on it, so then they kind of open like this so that you can write on it. So I thought that was kind of fun and kind of different. So my friend Sherry gave me that idea. And then this last one, I'm really not going to go say too much about. There's scrapbooking paper. There's some tsunami rose paper right here. These ones I did leave blank. Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Just because when my husband takes photographs, sometimes on his camera, he'll want to write down certain images. They all have numbers on them, so it'll be like number 2257 or something. And so he likes to write down ones that he thinks have good possibilities. And so I just figured he can use this back spot to kind of write that down when he's going through and trying to picking out the best of his best. You know, on some trips he goes on, he'll take 200 photographs. Some he takes 1,000 photographs. And you just have to go through and pick out the best of the best of the best. And so this gives him a spot, because he always does this anyways in a little notebook. It gives him a spot to narrow down his best photographs. So I left this back section all blank for him, or this last signature, other than some stamping. And so that is my journal. I hope you guys all like it as much as I do. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting.